£10.8 trillion. That is the combined net worth of every household in the United Kingdom, according to the Office for National Statistics National Balance Sheet for 2024. Say it slowly. 10.8 trillion. It is a number so vast it could purchase every publicly listed company on the London Stock Exchange and still have change left over to buy most of the FTSE 250. The headlines love this number. Britain is booming. UK household wealth hits record high. Politicians wave it around like a trophy. But here is the question nobody in Westminster wants you to ask. If British households are sitting on £10.8 trillion, then why are 33% of adults in Great Britain telling the Office for National Statistics that they cannot afford an unexpected but necessary expense of just £850? Why are 1 in 5 adults walking around with less than £100 in savings? The answer is hiding inside the walls of your house. And once you see it, you will never look at the word millionaire the same way again. According to the UBS Global Wealth Report and Credit Suisse data, the United Kingdom is home to roughly 3,061,000 millionaires. That places Britain third on the planet, behind only the United States and mainland China. 3 million people. It sounds extraordinary. It sounds like 1 out of every 22 adults in this country has crossed the 7-figure threshold. But now, do something the headlines never do. Strip out the family home. Remove the 3-bedroom semi in Surrey. Remove the Victorian terrace in Bristol. Remove the ex-council flat in Zone 2 that somehow costs £700,000 because it is 12 minutes from the Jubilee line. What happens? The number collapses. According to Henley & Partners and New World Wealth data, the United Kingdom had approximately 602,500 liquid millionaires as of 2023, defined as individuals holding over $1 million in investable assets and cash. Not bricks, not mortar, not a leaking roof. By the end of 2024, that figure fell further to an estimated 593,000, as nearly 9,500 liquid millionaires left the country in a single year, the second highest outflow on the planet. So out of 3 million so-called millionaires, roughly 80% of them cannot write a cheque for £1 million without selling their home first. They are not millionaires. They are homeowners with a nice Zoopla estimate. The ONS Wealth and Assets Survey, published in January 2025, lays the composition bare. Of all household wealth in Great Britain, net property wealth accounts for 40%. Private pension wealth makes up 35%. Net financial wealth, your ISAs, your savings accounts, your stocks and shares, accounts for just 14%. Physical wealth, your car, your furniture, your jewellery, takes the remaining 10%. Read that again. 40% of everything British families own is concrete and plaster. Another 35% is locked inside a pension they likely cannot touch until they are 55 or 57 under the new rules. That means the average British household has only about 14% of its wealth in a form it can actually access without selling property or triggering pension penalties. The median household in Great Britain holds total wealth of £293,700. But median financial wealth, the money you can actually move, spend or invest tomorrow, is just £10,400. Let that sink in. The typical British household's total wealth badge reads nearly 300,000, but the amount of that wealth they can actually touch? About 10,000. The rest is theoretical. It is a number on a screen. It is paper wealth trapped behind bricks. Meet the most common millionaire in Britain. She is 68 years old. She and her late husband bought their home in 1989 for £122,000. Today, it is worth £1,400,000. On paper, she is wealthy. In practice, she turned the heating off in November because British Gas sent her a bill for £390, and her state pension deposits £884 a month. She is asset-rich and cash-poor. And she is not alone. The Financial Conduct Authority's Financial Lives survey found that 24% of adults in the United Kingdom were finding it difficult to cope financially as of May 2024. Citizens Advice estimated that 4 million people in England and Wales were living in a negative budget in 2024 to 2025, meaning their essential costs exceeded their income every single month by an average of £343. Many of these people own homes. Some of those homes are worth a fortune, but you cannot slice off a bedroom and hand it to Tesco at the self-checkout. This is the great British wealth paradox. The nation's balance sheet has never looked richer. The nation's kitchen tables have never felt poorer. And the gap between those two realities is measured in bricks, mortar, and a housing market that turns shelter into a speculative asset class. This is not just a British problem, but Britain is worse at it than most. Consider Switzerland. According to the Swiss National Bank's 2024 household data, real estate accounts for roughly 47% of total private household assets. But cash and deposits, money sitting in actual bank accounts, make up approximately 30%. Securities, meaning stocks, bonds and funds, account for another 30%. Swiss households keep nearly a third of their wealth in liquid form. British households keep 14%. Now look at Singapore. The city-state is home to over 240,000 millionaires. Its GDP per capita exceeds $90,000. But here is the critical difference. Singapore's Central Provident Fund system forces citizens to save across 3 accounts: for retirement, for healthcare, and for housing. The wealth is structured. The liquidity is deliberate. In Britain, the system does the opposite. Auto-enrollment nudges workers into pensions they cannot access for decades. The housing market absorbs every spare pound of savings into deposits, stamp duty, and mortgage payments. And ISA contribution limits, while generous at £20,000 per year, are used by a fraction of the population who can actually afford to fill them. The result is a nation that looks wealthy from 30,000 feet, but feels broke at ground level. So what separates the 593,000 liquid millionaires from the millions who merely own an expensive roof? The data points to 3 consistent behaviours. 1. Consistent budgeting. The Resolution Foundation found that 27% of Britons said their household would be unable to cope with an unexpected bill of £850. Liquid millionaires rarely face this problem, not because they earn dramatically more, but because they track where every pound goes. They treat budgeting not as deprivation, but as awareness. They know their number, the precise monthly figure they need to cover every obligation. And they build a gap between that number and what they earn. 2. Frequent investing. The median British household holds £10,400 in financial wealth. Liquid millionaires did not reach 7 figures by saving harder. They reached it by redirecting surplus income into assets that compound. ISAs filled to the annual limit, workplace pensions with employer matching maximised, and index funds held for decades, not days. The critical insight is frequency. Small, automated, monthly contributions into a stocks and shares ISA, or a self-invested personal pension, repeated over 20 or 30 years, produce outcomes that feel disproportionate to the effort involved. 3. Debt elimination. British households collectively owe over £1.8 trillion in outstanding mortgage debt alone. Liquid millionaires share a near-universal trait. They despise consumer debt. Not mortgage debt necessarily, which can be a leveraged asset, but credit card balances, car finance, and buy now, pay later arrangements that silently drain cash flow every month. They pay off high-interest liabilities first, aggressively, and they treat being debt-free as the foundation upon which investable wealth is built. None of these habits are glamorous. None of them make for exciting TikTok content. But they are the reason 593,000 people in this country can write a cheque for £1 million without asking an estate agent to list their home first. Here is the shift that matters. For decades, Britain measured wealth by what your house was worth. And for decades, that measurement told a comforting story. House prices went up, net worth followed. Everyone felt richer. But net worth is not wealth. Wealth is what your money can do for you while you are still alive. It is the ability to survive a job loss without panic. It is the freedom to retire without depending entirely on the state pension. It is the gap between your income and your obligations, invested consistently, compounded patiently, and available when life demands it. £10.8 trillion sits on British balance sheets. But the question that should keep this country up at night is simple. How much of that £10.8 trillion can actually be spent? The answer for most families is almost none of it. And that is the most expensive lie in Britain. If you learned something, don't forget to subscribe. I will see you in the next one.